Welcome to the Becoming babyREADY podcast, your podcast for queer family planning. My name is Sam, and throughout this podcast, you'll hear me have conversations with professionals who work alongside people who want to start and grow their families, as well as parents of intentionally created families. Everyone I speak to identifies as being part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. This is your opportunity to learn answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Welcome. Today I'm speaking with Jessie, who birthed their firstborn child, and their ex-partner birthed their second child. Together they co-parent and they work together to create a whole new path for what family dynamic can look like for them. Welcome, everyone. I want to welcome you to today's interview with Jessie. She's someone I have known since she was pregnant with her first child, which feels like it was yesterday, but it was longer than that. So, Jessie, tell us about the members of your family.
Well, thank you for having me. Well, I have a beautiful 7-year-old daughter, Sawyer, who I gave birth to. And we had my partner and I at the time, we decided to make another child, and she carried the second child, and his name is Reese, and he just turned 6 this past week. So yeah, it kind of feels like twins sometimes, but they're not, but kind of into the same things. So yeah, they've been great. And Tanya and I are co-parenting now because we are been separated for a few years, and we've been making that different sort of family dynamic work. And everyone's happy and healthy. So it's really good.
Excellent. I love hearing that. So of all of the various methods that you could have used and ways you could have chosen to grow your family, what methods did you and Tanya use?
Well, we knew that we were both fairly healthy individuals. We were going to just try, artificial insemination. So we contacted One Fertility in Burlington because we had heard some of through the grapevine, other people had gone to them for for the issues. We weren't sure if we would have any of those. And once we got in to see all the process and go through all the testing, we were both able to just be artificially inseminated. We didn't need anything extra as far as, thinking about any other ways. We were never really considering adoption. We both felt that we wanted to, I know for sure wanted to, the experience of having a baby was one thing, but I know I wanted to produce something, genetically that I could make. So I wanted to go that route for sure. And although the process wasn't easy or super delightful, the end result is all that matters. And that was our end game. And we were both successful with just artificial insemination through the fertility clinic.
You went to the fertility clinic and you're right, in Burlington area, one is one of the more popular fertility clinics. Did you find that they were particularly open, accepting? Did you slow them down by coming in as a same-sex couple? Did they have to think twice about how they asked questions or answered yours?
Thinking back, we already kind of, I feel like my whole life I've always been an other. So I think mentally I've adapted to just assuming that they would think that. Mm-hmm. Overall, the experience, I didn't see any other same-sex couples in and out of the clinic, and we were there a lot. But I also did know other couples that were through there. So they were very open. We didn't have or run into any issues that felt like we were, the outsiders in any way. I kind of have that as a preconceived thing anyways. It's starting to leave now, but overall, we were treated just as a couple that, needed a little bit of extra help. And we were going to find out exactly how much help we needed. And overall, we didn't need a whole lot of help, which was good.
Right. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that was your experience. You didn't, maybe you were treated as the other, but you weren't made to feel uncomfortable for being in that space.
No.
Because it is a vulnerable process. So you want to be able to at least believe that they're happy that you're there and using their services. So that's excellent to hear.
Yeah.
Given that achieving parenthood for members of the 2S LGBTQIA community is not easy and it's never free, Would you be comfortable giving an estimate as to the total cost you incurred to have a baby?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, so going to One Fertility, they had a plethora of information, which was also sort of a starting point because we weren't even really sure what the first step was. I mean,
Sure.
is it find the sperm, find the donor, get tested first? So once we had made contact with One Fertility, they kind of gave us some websites and some information to go over and to look through. And so we started scanning a couple of different websites for, looking for the donated sperm, which was not actually donated. I believe we spent about $2,000 purchasing the sperm. We bought 2 vials because I was older, 38, starting this journey. I went first in getting pregnant. And so we thought 2 vials, we'll just start with 2 and go from there. Process of, looking through the donors was, I wouldn't say that it was super lengthy. I mean, I think if I'm looking back, I probably would have spent more time researching. Not that we don't have fantastic children and everything worked out well, but I feel like you have to pay to be members of all these websites, right? So we didn't do that. You had like 24 hours to look through. We literally spent 24 hours reading essays after essays about why individuals wanted to do this. And we wanted to pick somebody that would be open to contact if needed for any kind of like life-saving type of future things, but no contact as far as parental rights or, anything else like that. And we wanted to make sure that's why we never really thought about friends. We thought that would be complicated with the relationship. We wanted to be the sole parents and needing nobody else to be that parent or, that type of guardianship. So we definitely wanted an anonymous sperm donor, although we actually know who the person is, but that was during our own research. It's not hard. Well, yeah. So the process was not super difficult after we made some selections, and then we kind of narrowed it down based on our own backgrounds and Tanya's background. And we honestly picked somebody that just was doing it for the right reasons, because the site that we chose, they had to submit essays on why they were doing this process in the first place. We wanted to make sure it wasn't just somebody looking for, a bunch of money and donations. And, we were able to see, his whole family health all the way back to grandparents to see what other, if they were healthy. And of course, this is all based off truth, where I would want to do a little bit more research on the website or the agency that's collecting the information, if I was to ever do it again, which we will not be doing this again. But there was a lot of information on the website. There were baby pictures, there was all kinds of things. So making the decision, once we clicked accept, it's kind of like just kind of get sent to the fertility clinic, and then the fertility clinic stored things. So there was a cost of storage fees as well. So there was little costs here and there. So I say between, 2,000 and probably 2,500 overall for both children. And the reason being is that I got super lucky and got pregnant on the first go. And that's our beautiful Sawyer. And Reese, same thing. Tanya got a full clean bill of health, and she was also got pregnant on the first go. Wow. And I attribute that partly to One Fertility because they do testing. And I had a little bit more, medical issues, not just being age, but a couple of other little things that were sort of precursors to getting pregnant. And we were super lucky to only have to buy 2 vials. So, I mean, it could have been a much more expensive process, but they did testing right up to, and I was supposed to be, going in the next day, and they said, your levels aren't right. Like, we're not going to do this because the timing isn't right. And I needed a little boost of something. So there was a little added cost as well. I needed a little injection. So we waited another month, and they only attempt when it looks super good on all levels, like all the things that they check. I don't know all the ins and outs, but yeah. So that was a part of how we had such a great experience that we didn't have to keep going in. I feel like we're both just super fortunate that, because I've heard of lots of stories of time and time again, women trying, and the cost could have been astronomical if that's the case. So we're just so fortunate that we were both so healthy and able to carry babies, which made this process so much easier.
That's pretty cool. Hold on for just a moment. We'll be right back.
Cuddle your baby in comfort in Moon Mama postpartum underwear, designed to not only keep you comfy, but also feel special. Each pair is hand-dyed, making them unique, just like the person wearing them. Visit us at heymoonmama.com and use code SAMLEESON for 15% off your purchase. That's SAMLEESON. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Hey Moon Mama. Stay comfy.
Are there any words of caution that you would share with other 2S LGBTQIA community people as a result of the experience you've had?
I think that I would probably, One Fertility was fantastic, but do your research, because I did have another friend that used One Fertility, but in a different city, and they didn't have the same experience. I don't know if I don't understand how any kind of testing could be different. And I don't know if this was just the individual, but they did attempts after attempts, and nothing good was coming from it. So they felt that they just kept spending money, and they weren't having results. And so I said, well, I had really good experience with One Fertility. We used One Fertility in Burlington, Ontario, that was a different One Fertility that they were using. So I don't know the ins and outs of how or why that was such a hard experience for them. But for us, I would probably do my research more on the goods, as far as like the sperm, the donation. That would probably be something I would have focused a little bit more on, just the afterthought now, knowing that, some of these websites didn't do their due diligence on background checks on donors. So that part I would wanted to, although we're fortunate, I probably would have, in retrospect, probably done a little bit more research, maybe some different organizations, or, that kind of stuff.
That makes sense. Sense. You've been there, you've done that. When you went through your process, do you think that an event like this would have been something that would have been beneficial to you, to give you an idea of what kinds of things you may have wanted to think about? Or did you just kind of jump in with 2 feet and then start looking around afterwards for what resources were out there?
Well, once we made the decision to have kids, we kind of did jump full in. We went with things that felt right. You got to go, if anything, is trusting yourself. I don't think you do it enough as parents. We don't trust our instincts. We don't trust that we know. And obviously having 2 young kids now, there's things that I would do differently if I could do it again. I would have had you. I would have never gone to the hospital. I would have. Right. And I wish I had known myself prior to even going to the moms group, because I think being a part of, not being the only pregnant person, but also you being openly LGBTQ, like joining that group and having some pre-information really did help me feel more settled. At the end of the day, I think I would have disregarded the hospital experience, because that was the part that probably irked me the most. That was the hardest part of it, was the delivery and that whole experience where it wasn't super comfortable. And I think it could have been a little bit more comfortable in that respect. So, yeah.
So One Fertility was great, but then you get to the hospital, and that's where the dynamics were very much more obvious that you were the other.
Yeah, for sure. Because I feel like they didn't really hear, the hospital didn't, you feel, I don't know if it was just me because, being gay, but like parents, I feel like new parents, they don't treat you like you know anything. I felt like they made me feel like I was doing things wrong, that I needed to do, try to breastfeed their way. And I had a plan for, aftercare and things, just for personal reasons, and nothing was followed. The hospital didn't really hear me. There was a disconnect of information between the fertility clinic, our OB and the hospital. Even though those OBs work at the hospital, there's still a disconnect between all the people that work there and then you as that sort of lonely mom at sometimes, because your partner's not always directly beside you. And yeah, there was definitely some feelings of, I'm by myself. How am I going to do what's happening next? Like just lack of communication and information at that hospital level for sure. So I would have done it differently. I would have had you, I would have done it anywhere but at the hospital. And because there's that pressure, right? New moms face a lot of pressure of having to do things a certain way. And I'm fortunate that I work in a school and I have a lot of young staff some of them are pregnant right now and about to have babies. And I said, just make sure that you got your plan A, you got your plan B, but have a C, D, E, F, and G as well. And don't expect it to go on any of those plans, because having and making babies isn't going to go according to any specific plan.
Never does.
And it never will, right?
No.
I mean, there'll be the odd time it'll work out perfectly and everyone will have had a great experience, but overall there's going to be little glitches, and it's just being able to roll with those and make good decisions based on, your motherly instincts, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that was one of the things I tried to instill when we did have that group, was that there was no judgment, because everybody does it their own way. And we really just, more than anything, need to build each other up, because there's enough other stuff in this world that takes us down. So that's always been my mandate, is just, let's build each other up. No judgment. Let's just support one another. Right.
And I wish that there were more spaces like that, or that the information was out there because we've got LGBTQs in these small communities where there is there are no doulas. There's a hospital that's maybe an hour or more away. Like they don't have that connection, and they certainly are not sitting around, in a room with other pregnant people getting any information. So, I mean, I think that was a super helpful, calming experience before even, before having the baby, which, I think we need as parents. We just have to have that support. And I always knew that I had you to make me feel welcome, and not that I didn't have uncomfortable moments around the other parents, because I was the only one there that was, you were same sex, but like all the other parents were from heterosexual families and able to, just have an easier, I don't want to say easier experience, but they don't have to think as much as we do. There's a lot of things that we pre-think about, we think about during, and then we reflect afterwards going, oh, okay, well, it wasn't as bad as maybe we thought it was, or maybe it was, right?
Right.
Depending on your circle. But moms groups, I think I wished that everyone could go to one before, during, and then those first few months of taking Sawyer to see you in the group was also making me feel not alone in the process, because, you're at home with brand new baby as well. Yeah. And your partner's not there because they're at work for the most part, and you're kind of doing it on your own. And that also was a very scary experience.
Sure.
You don't know what the baby's going to do.
No, you don't. No, you don't. It's so true. Let's end this off on a positive note. What is your very favorite part about being a parent?
You know what? Right now is a super fun age, because the kids are like 6 and 7, and just having them come home and see things from their perspective. It's so exciting to hear them just express their thoughts and feelings, because we hold these babies, and babies are great. Love babies, but I'm excited about this phase of being independent humans. Like my Sawyer, she's so great. She just takes on the world. She has no fears, which can be a problem at times, but it's also, I know that I feel just confident that she's going to be fine, and I don't have to worry. I don't see, anxiousness and those nervousness and like I've seen in some kids. And they're just so bright and happy, and they love their parents. When we were splitting up, we thought, oh, is this going to hurt them? And you know what? It never did. We chose love between the two of us, parents, and we chose to love on the kids so much. I don't even think that they know or understand that we aren't really together. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though house. So, just watching them take on each day and come home and tell you their stories of things at school, and, the hugs and the love that they come and bring to you just without even asking. It's unconditional, and it feels so good. It's really great.
It does. Oh, I love your kids. I think they're absolutely adorable. And I just feel lucky that I've been able to be a part of their lives, all of their lives. But I thank you so much for joining us today and for telling us a bit about your story, giving people a bit of an insight as to how things can be when they
Thank
have
you.
their babies.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining me today on the Becoming Baby Ready podcast. If you have a story that you'd like to share, or you know someone who might, if you're a professional who works in the capacity of helping people start and grow their families, and you identify as being a part of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community yourself, then please don't hesitate to reach out. We always have room for more stories to share, and there's always more learning to do.